That's weird.
All right, so I'd like to call to order the June 3, 2025 of the Lower Suffolk Township Board of Supervisors, and ask everyone to join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That brings us to our public comment agenda item. Is there anyone wishing to recognize? Seeing no one, we'll move on to the Public Works Director, Mr. Jones.
Good morning, thank you. We have our community center design team with us for a presentation. I will turn it over to Tony and the team to go through the project and the concept.
Let's do it. Hey, Chris, good morning.
Let Laura go down. Down, I appreciate it.
Doing,
All right.
well, come on up.
This is Paul from Barry.
Hi.
Paul's handling.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
The land development concept.
How you doing, Paul? I didn't even know you were back there. I didn't see
That's
you.
not been.
Did you? It's just a very brief introduction. We've been working together with the committee for some time now. And as you know, we brought on Barry Izet's office to assist with the site layout of the community center. So we worked through the building layouts for, I don't know, probably 2-3 months, I think it was. Till we got comfortable, till the committee got comfortable, I should say, with the building layout itself. And then once we had the building layout pretty much, nailed down to the programming of it and the use of it, and certainly any comments welcome here today, which is the purpose of today's meeting. We then turned to Izet's office over the last probably 3 months or so, or 4 months it's been maybe, just to narrow down. And everybody, the staff and Kent and Chris had some really great ideas on, and Doug and Joe, of course, on how to lay the site out. And we probably went through maybe 4 or 5 changes to that just to get it to a point that we are today, where we feel pretty comfortable with the layout, and certainly looking for feedback from the board. And so I think I'll just leave it at that. That's where we've been over the last 6 months, getting this plan to a point that we could meet with you all and get some feedback today. So Laura, if you want to walk through maybe the building, and then Paul can walk through the steps that we've gone through to at least lay the site out. And then at the end of the presentation, there's a rough timeline. We had prepared the timeline of I don't know now, probably a year plus ago. We now modified that for today's dates, and and you'll see the timeline that takes us through if we're going to start design and then some, bidding, obviously bidding and construction and things like that. So I can walk through that with you at the end, but I think if we start at the building and move forward.
Good morning, everyone. So the floor plans are, as you saw them last time, and I believe we had some kind of minor modifications that were made as a follow-up to the meeting 2 months ago. So really what you see is kind of what was presented last time, but really quickly, I'll just kind of walk through again. So on the first floor, the majority of the spaces are primarily for senior center use or for flex use. As you come in the entrance, you've got a large lobby and living room. The staff administration areas kind of have a little pod of offices off the left, a library and billiard space. To the right is primarily the back of house kitchen, storage, delivery, the mechanical spaces, walk-in fridge and freezer, a service stair up to the second floor, and then of course the large multi-purpose room with the stage and the seating. We do have some additional multi-purpose rooms, again, primarily thinking that these would be senior center use during the day, but could flex at other hours of the day. And exit out to the areas on the left. We do have some toilet rooms that can be accessed from the exterior and the interior. That was something we discussed last time. And then some storage space as well. And then on the second floor, again, primarily multi-purpose rooms that can flex between either senior center overflow use and community use. Toilet rooms, some storage rooms, a warming kitchen. And again, just primarily the second floor is that kind of flex and multi-purpose. Any questions? Comments?
Only question, I think it's just the door placement, the back right corner, where it says service area behind the kitchen.
I'm sorry, are we on the first floor?
On the first floor,
Okay.
first floor, to second floor, either way.
Yeah,
There's a door at the far right back corner, to go outside.
yeah,
It
that's,
appears to be in the landing, not at the bottom of the steps.
so it's underneath the stair. So
underneath the
it's underneath the landing, so that's our egress door out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Got
basically, yeah, so there's the stair up, and then if you go to the right, you could just go directly out.
There's enough height on that run of stairs, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was just.
Yeah,
It looked
yeah.
like it's coming out at the landing.
no way, nowhere.
Well, I thought there might be a grade issue where you had to come out at the landing of the stairwell.
Oh,
rather
no,
than- Okay.
yeah, it just, yeah, it goes out under.
Yeah,
Cartoon.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, super like.
We can talk about that.
No, I know,
Yeah,
and I just
yeah,
didn't know
sorry.
where it would fall from that standpoint.
Yeah.
So that works out well.
That's in women's room in the back of one of the first floor. It could be a gate or some type of access prohibition. For example, if the building were closed and we still want to use those bathrooms.
The exterior ones,
Yeah.
I think you could just lock the doors on the inside, yeah, yeah.
I've seen facilities that have different kind of door to center house.
Right,
And there's ways to access control that, right?
Yeah.
With timing and all that
Mhm.
stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looks good.
I think it's great, appreciate all the things.
Yeah, I feel like that's, yeah.
right, well then we'll turn it over to Paul and talk about the site plan, since this is new information.
For the site, as you can see, we're lined up the main entrance with Community Avenue, so that there's clear traffic flow. We have a handicap area over to the right there of the new proposed building. Through there'll be access for deliveries, and also we have the throughway there for drop-offs, and it's close to the handicap area as well. There's a pull around area, as you can see, the loop there that can take you to the new building that we're looking to demolish the existing pool area there that has the main entrance, put a new one there. As you can see further to the left there's proposal to remove I believe it's a basketball court now to a new pool system. And there's also a further to the left, there's a new pool house. And throughout that, we're adding and improving the walkway in there, so that's the walkability to all these facilities. With this layout, we are shifting the fencing and all that and baseball, or is it softball court, further back to allow room for the additional parking and the additional building there. This does increase the parking lot spaces. If you look to the far right there's a count. Fortunately, I know this is awful small and I don't have it memorized as far as the amount there. If you look further up there to the top left corner there, potential, we thought the northwest potential for future parking as far as like grass parking, or maybe even for when you have the fair and all that, that could be an area there that could be placed. That's why we're putting the parking there, or the walkway there, that we will make that strong enough for vehicles, that would go over that. It's 8 foot wide to allow more access if it is a little bit of muddiness, to allow more of a direct path to when you go to the next sheet there. To the left, you see the new parking lot where the existing Cub Scout area was. We are addressing that as being kind of a rolled curb so that people could drive off of that and onto that parking lot, onto that drive area there, and use the lawn area as a parking area. The new building up there would be for storage for different activities, and there's enough pull around area there that could back in a trailer and load the different. We're looking at that being maybe 4 or 5 different compartments there that each association would be assigned to those. They are also,
Boy Scouts.
The day camp and the community center, mowing crew would also house, the JC materials for the fair, that's where.
more in design, we can determine how big each one needs it. This is just kind of the placeholders. We figure that would be probably about the right size that's needed. By doing these modifications, we have to shift the existing trail over a little bit, as you can see there. And then as far as we're thinking for traffic congestion, we're looking at putting a new drive there off of Maple Avenue and taking it off of Park. That drive will still be there, but it'll be chained just for emergency access, or maybe during the fair that may allow for the special vehicles to go that route. As you can see there, so we're looking to do a detention basin in the middle there. That's kind of a low spot. And then also with the that new drive potential for, I know you do grass parking there as well. We can maybe do parking there, and that driveway will allow people to drive off of there. We may have to do a little bit more detention, as you can see there to the bottom left there. It's a little detention facility to make up for some of the additional purpose area that we're adding.
Just for everybody's benefit, I know you can't see it, but I think the total parking is around 350 spaces. So that's between the parking that's in front of the new community center, the existing parking off of Park, and the 50+ spaces up by the scout camp. So I think it totals about 350.
Any questions on the site?
I'd just like to make a comment, thanks to Mike. Mike spent some time on this too, to come up with some of these ideas on the current layout. So thanks to Mike for putting some time in on that as well.
Actually, he was the originator.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. The originator.
I noticed on yesterday's, when I received it, that said Broad Street, and now it says 3.5. That was another question I had. That's a good thing. On the big one. Yes. I did double that. But I do look, as I said, we have a discussion about that, and then we can look at best because of this, regarding parking, the turnaround. I think it's a good idea, especially the mountain curve there.
Good.
I know you can't see it, which is probably a good thing. But the storage building is 3,000 square feet. I know it's labeled as 1,800, but it's 3,000 square feet.
And you check where the sunlight would be in the baseball field, but then consider but
The traffic circulation on the 88 spots is a running community. 2 items. I know that's also going to be the delivery zone.
It'll be more the delivery zone in front. They won't be backing into that area though.
So they'll pull underneath the canopy. And
Yeah,
park
correct,
and on the-
correct.
Okay, so they don't need there's no dock.
Correct, right. It's
The
flush.
other question is the sort of the crisscross nature of the traffic, because they're coming in to make the circle's going backward, sort of
Yes.
counterintuitively. And that strikes me as difficult for most drivers.
We can look at, yeah,
Does it make sense to recirculate it?
we could.
Re-angle the spots and recirculate it the other way?
Yep.
Just because that, you don't want to see that traffic crossing each other.
Sure.
And so the idea for delivery is they'll come in on the secondary access off the Park.
Correct.
Turn under the overhang and just sort of park out there in the morning and deliver before the
rush of.
rush.
Right.
Okay.
We do have an overhead door located off the kitchen. So they'd have to go around the building.
That's what they're doing. So they'll park, walk up that sidewalk and come in the overhead door.
Correct.
They're not gonna try to make a turn around that.
No, there's no way that, no. And per our discussion, right. And that's kind of what our discussion that we just said that'd be the way they do it. Right, correct.
for trash disposals and stuff. same kind of.
Yeah, you see the trash.
Yeah, it's like one
Northeast,
of those.
it's hard to probably see, but it's
To the right.
To the right.
dumpsters from the right.
There you go, right through there. Yep.
So in terms of, truck turning on here, you haven't gotten that far yet?
We did a truck turning, yeah, we did a template.
Or see,
Right, because it'll be first, yeah. If we can do the semi, I can do the immersion vehicle,
gotta ask.
yes.
We'll definitely
For the
confirm,
seniors.
yeah, we'll definitely confirm that
Yes.
with the fire folks.
Is it, and that's the thing, I mean, I like this, but I would like, obviously, let's make sure we could see the how the turnaround and stuff. like
Yeah,
that.
sure.
That'll be our next steps.
Focused on this a little bit. And I know trash dumpsters pads are always a terrible spot with anywhere. We're gonna build a beautiful building, presumably. We're going to have a lot of guests coming there. And as you're walking up to it, the dumpster will be right there.
The enclosure, but yeah,
I know, but it's,
I,
I don't care how pretty an enclosure you are.
I'm with ya, I'm with ya.
That's put lipstick on you know what, and,
I understand,
I
but
thought we on, you know, our, from the ADA spots and the other things, my thought would be that you'd eat up the first two ADA spots at the end of the building. They can pull straight in and grab and put a little dumpster enclosure there and then back out in the morning, just how a lot of trash companies will do it. And that buries it in the back there rather than being right at the entrance.
I mean,
Easy access into the building too, you
it's-
don't have to cross the sidewalk.
right. As far as code, we're fine, but it was more, we added, because it's a senior center, as far as more handicap areas. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's
I think we
it's
may-
what you feel comfortable with.
I would, I don't know what everybody else thinks, I think we'd be better off with the dumpster buried back straight, and then they can pull
Sure.
forks in and go straight back out. And it's only gonna eat up
Yeah.
2.5 of those spots, even if we have to put, you know, and you're gonna rejigger that a little bit by re-angling it, maybe
Sure,
we can, you know, and play with that a little
You're
bit.
thinking that back corner, right, Chris? The
Right.
upper right corner.
The upper left,
Upper
left
corner.
right adjacent to the building, you got.
Right where he's got the arrow, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they could come right out that service area.
Yeah.
Hit the dumpster and go back in, and you can put a little enclosure around that to hide from the trail, but it wouldn't be
Sure.
the focal point of the front of the building.
I like that they won't have to cross the parking
Well,
lot.
yeah, come right off the sidewalk from the kitchen, they can wheel it there and come back, you don't worry about traffic or anything.
Yeah.
It's a back of house thing, not in front of house.
And access from.
Yeah. It's fortunate.
And that's actually better location for the community center building then too, because they can bring it across the back of the building.
Yeah, just right across the trail, yeah. Keep it off on the sidewalk instead of going down the park.
Sure.
Okay.
right?
Great, yeah.
I should have done last week.
That's why we're here.
Yep.
So pedestrian circulation on the property itself, I know looks like there's sidewalks along both sides, the east and west side. Was there considerations, I guess, of crosswalks, or you get to all that?
That would be more toward, yeah, we would get to that, yeah.
Then sidewalk, you want to put up the main road to the to that, I guess, internal intersection, I guess. I'd like to take a look at that, because I think that's
Sure.
something that we want to encourage people to walk, and time of the fair, that's really,
Really swamped and there's a lot of traffic. Yep, okay.
you don't want to design for one event, but. there'll
It's
be
the
more
big-
events
right.
there. That's the big event. but-
Well, I know, but there'll be
Yeah,
other-
the other events.
This past Sunday, right?
Yes, the market is very, and the market is very. So, yeah,
Anyway,
are you seeing that in place, Pete, of the ones that go up either side?
not necessarily, because the ones that go up either side connect to our trail system. This is more for folks that are here that are walking kind of up and down that main road that gives them a place to walk as opposed to in the drive on.
Sure.
Unfortunately, pedestrians go to the path, it's like water, path of least resistance, whether it's a sidewalk or not.
Right.
They're gonna be out there and they're gonna see the building and wanna walk.
Right.
You know, and it's almost,
advantageous not to put the sidewalk until you see where the path is. Because where they walk, you know.
And it looks like you're showing those, pathways as concrete.
We're just, that's just more of a,
For
yeah.
those and maybe the concrete.
Mhm.
One thing I'm noticing now too, please, adding a comment here, coming in, somebody would be driving in, seems like if you make an immediate right, you're almost fired to go underneath that overhang, or people would tend to do that. Is there a way we can try to encourage people to kind of make another right there? Because I'm not sure if there's enough room. I just think of the other senior center, it's a tighter overhead. I know this will be a nicer one, obviously bottom of the bill, but is that something we want most of the traffic going right underneath that? I know people tend to linger, cars will stop, keep put on 4 ways to drop people off.
Well, there's an access to that they can turn right in, right there.
It is a hard right.
It is a hard right,
And a
yeah, it's all right.
I just said, and you guys would know better than me if there's a way to, I don't know if we can do that, but even just maybe encourage people not to go right underneath there, especially.
We could lose the few
Lose two
spots right where right below it. Yeah, right there, right where his cursor is, and we could make that a turn as well, and it should be a small island up there. I mean,
We could extend roads down and you have the ability to do some of that.
correct, yeah, it's just, we're losing parking spot, that was,
Yeah, but yeah, you could extend the island from the canopy.
Sure,
Towards
yep.
the entrance and give it almost that segregated.
Yep.
I think it's a good suggestion, and losing two spots there is not gonna make or break it.
okay.
Yeah, and I don't want to lose the spots at the same time, even if it's big and there's plenty of room, it's inevitable, as you say, one person goes on to the other, people put the 4 ways on, get people out.
And-
Kind of.
And except for the senior center in the evenings and other things, the majority of the people coming here are gonna be coming here for soccer, for other things. They have no need to be going underneath that canopy or.
Sure, okay.
Be running in and out. Yeah, it can't.
Well,
Yeah.
Keith, I already picture, I think you're gonna find a lot of people are gonna end up using the second entrance anyway.
Yeah.
When if they're just going in there to park to go to soccer or whatever, they're not loop around, they're just pulling right through it, you know.
Is the traffic under the canopy in 2 directions?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And
That's
then,
pretty wide.
It's 40, it's 40.
Yeah.
it's 40 wide, so.
In Paul's defense on the parking spaces, I asked him for maximum parking spaces. You know, working the event, we need.
No, that's fine, yeah, that's what we're looking for here, it definitely. Because you guys definitely see during the events and all that, and unfortunately, we don't have those.
Yeah, and during the initial stages of this design, we're gonna be going back and forth.
Right.
There's gonna be a ton of, changes and.
Yeah,
and
this is
what
just
do
the
you think?
conceptual, and then when we get to the design, and then sometimes changes based on what we see.
There was, I don't know whether Chris or Ken or Joe or Doug has said anything, but the intent in that circle is to put something pretty special in that middle. There, so when people drive up,
Focal point.
whether it's a flag and a monument or whatever, the intent is for that circle to be pretty cool. No, just the schedule to just, whenever, if the board's gonna move forward, that, again, these dates can shift depending on the word go, right? So, this point, we had just assumed some things to be, again, these are milestones to just fluctuate as the township decides to move forward with, if anything, but with the center, the public works that we've already discussed previously and the impound, if that's still on the table.
So, is the next, we've got this nailed down to a point where I know it's very conceptual, but is it conceptual enough to get, I think, the budget as anticipated cost, correct?
Yeah.
That's the
We
next,
can do that next.
which would then be our opportunity to evaluate funding streams for this, grants, partnerships, senior center, and other people who will also be participating in the cost of what would be a very nice project. So I mean, would that be our next role in this? And then once we have that conceptual budget nailed down, we can make decisions about moving towards hard design, hard CDs, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Right, that's it, okay. So what would be between now and September 2026, we were just talking about schedules before we started this meeting, that's a nice window of what, 15, 16 months. How many months are we talking about between now and when we could have numbers?
Probably in a couple weeks.
Okay. So that's something that we can work on over the summer and or fall, right, with the funding streams, things along that line.
Doug and I will be meeting with, grants folks on
Yep.
19th, 17th.
Okay.
17th,
Yeah.
to discuss that process.
Okay.
Forward with our systems, but,
Okay.
So it'd be ideal to have the numbers at that point.
well,
At least
Something
even
close.
even if
Yeah.
they're just talking. And the
When,
schedule.
when were you meeting?
17th.
Of June.
You know, I mean, if you had a,
Well, look, we've already done public works, right, because we reviewed that before, that's just updating. In town, we've done before, that's just updating, really, it's just a community
Yeah,
center,
All right.
so 19. Okay.
17th, 17th,
I think it's the 19th.
Eight minutes the size of the bread box or whatever.
Yeah. We'll have it to you.
Take it on to everybody.
Yeah, we'll have it to you.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you.
Very good.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. A good process.
Thanks all, appreciate the comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down.
All good?
Hi. Come on up and introduce yourself. Got in a little later, we did done this earlier.
I'm sorry about that. We were a little confused because it showed us to the fire department. Or like sorry.
Come to break.
But my name is Nadia. I'm a junior at the Southern Area High School. And I guess I'm here to talk about the junior sponsorship. So I don't know if you have like the guidelines. Yes.
Yes, we all.
Yep.
Yes, so the overview of that, at least from my understanding, so there would be like a selection process with like a bunch of different applicants. You would look them over, there would be letters of recommendation. And then as for like, I guess like how I think I think how that would go, at least from my perspective, I think having applicants, I think that's a good thing. Or like having that like application process. I don't really have any qualms with really anything other than maybe the removal aspect of like the guidelines, which would just be like to inform, I guess, like the junior like supervisor of like, you know, why they're being removed or such and such. But other than that, I mean, I don't really have any qualms with the guidelines. If you have anything that you would like to share. But in regards to everything that's listed out on the sheet, I think it's all pretty good. Yeah.
Straightforward.
As I explained to you guys before, Nadia sent me an email asking why we didn't have any junior counselors, and honestly didn't even know too much about junior township supervisors. So if anybody's watching what we're referring to, we found some similar rules and layouts where other townships have junior township supervisors. And so we just kind of based it off this week, that idea of what a junior township supervisor could do. We also had an email from Nina Rica, who reached out today as well. She's also very interested, but she will make it to some final exams. And we appreciate that.
I better take the exams.
Yes, I do as well.
Yes.
What kind of unique perspective do you think high school students could bring to the township government?
Well, I think there are a bunch of things for us, at least. We have a background in drug prevention, because we work with Teen Senate. So there are a bunch of things in regards to that. So I think even that aspect, I think we can add some, I guess, perspective. But I think including like things like maybe like community events revolving, like trying to get kids more involved in the community, at least over in Souderton. One of the things that we're trying to implement is a big brother / big sister program, because we see that a lot of kids have a lot of free time on their hands. And unfortunately, some of that kind of results in kids maybe like ransacking the Wawa when we were having like a meeting and such. There are a bunch of things like that that they could, I guess, like benefit from having like programs like that, or having like little like highlighting like different like clubs at like maybe like some of the elementary schools, or like bringing like other things so that like kids can get more involved in the community, more involved in like other things, just to make sure that they don't kind of go down that path. And then also because we're high schoolers, we do have, I guess, some perspective on like driving, even though we don't have that much experience. But again, that's something that we can also add on to in regards to perspective. Um,
Are you doing this in Southern at this point?
Sorry,
Are you a junior counselor?
No.
No, oh, okay.
no.
When you said in Southern, I thought you.
Oh, well, I go to school there, so
You're saying at the high school, not at Southern.
No, no.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was confused by that, yes.
yeah,
Okay. And you're a resident of Lower South?
I'm a resident
Okay.
of Lower South.
So you would be interested.
Yes, I would.
Not just that. Very good. So,
I think, especially as someone who grew up here, to have a voice from a youth perspective is, or I think it's wonderful. I appreciate you coming to us with this. What kind of support or resources would you need from the township to make something like this possible?
I think, I guess like just your approval, and then having that like kind of like space to facilitate like students, or like someone like me, like being able to come in, listen, and then being able to like have our voices being heard in like different aspects of that. Like asking for like our opinions on different things, maybe even being able to like have opportunities to go out into the community and kind of like see where this is like how we're impacting the community, and what else we can more like learn, just to like better our perspective or widen our perspective.
it's a great program.
So
So the goal would be, we'll approve this at a meeting, we'll advertise it, and try to get it set up so that by September, we would have someone in the position.
yeah, we've had to, obviously go over this. The one thing I noticed about this was just a South Middletown Township. I did find several townships where this one had a good layout. How many we would want for this position? This one didn't specify that. I think it said one, but again, I know that we have two people interested, and clearly we would do interviews as well. That's something that we want to consider. I think bring this forward. I agree.
Sounds good. Very good. Well, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. This is great.
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch with the application process.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming out. Thanks.
You.
Bye.
All right, so with that, we will return to the Public Works Director's department update.
Thank you. Just a little follow-up on the community center, project, like Joe mentioned, I did reach out to a couple grant funding firms that specialize in that process. I got a response from one. It was the one we had talked to previously, GMS Funding Solutions. They seem to be the predominant firm in this area for that type of activity. Currently, they're not taking on any new clients, but they're onboarding some new additional staff. So we've got about a 60 to 90 day window until they'll be able to bring us on as a client if we choose to go in that direction. So we were a little confused, at least I was anyway, on the process. So that's why we scheduled the meeting for the 19th, so we have a better understanding of the process and who the players are. They wanted us to meet with a firm that does lobbying specifically for municipal entities and kind of puts everybody in touch. So just want to make sure we fully understand all the players and all the pieces and how everything fits together in that process. So that's the goal of the meeting on the 19th. Just an update on some projects. Bergen Mill Road Bridge, H&K continuing work on the bridge abutments and the center pier. The Salford Quarry, Mike, if you put up those pictures, please. That work is progressing as we talked earlier. They are talking about not being completed until the end of the year. So at this point, they're drilling for the encasement wall that they're installing. So the blue machine in the picture. So That's their large diameter drill. So they're drilling, they've stabilized the excavation in the wall so that they can work safely. And then along that, the foot of the base of the wall is where they're drilling the I don't know what you call it, the wall or piers that they're putting in to prevent the groundwater from contacting with the contaminated groundwater that's on the site, and it will essentially go around the site so that any contamination won't migrate off site.
So refresh my memory, inside that wall that we can now see, what's the finished condition? The wall's exposed and they just put soil over top of it, they just have that bowl there, or are they planning on filling?
I thought they were going
They're
to
gonna fill up to that.
back to the original grade.
So they're gonna create a slope in there, and basically any evidence of a depression will be gone.
That was
That's
my
correct.
understanding.
I think it's. How do you use that, for example,
I think the wall height's probably about 25 feet. And I don't know how far down, I forget how far down they're drilling to put the perimeter barrier in, but.
See the so
Yeah, I think it occurs with,
And these were taken last month, so they're the most recent drone footage that we were able to get. So that work is continuing. Main Street Sidewalk Project, we have a pre-construction meeting with PennDOT scheduled for this Friday. Just an update on some grants. We got the comments back on the scoping form for the 2025 Arley project, which is the school flashers at Indian Valley Middle School. So there are some comments that we will address and then submit our application by the end of the month. And the Arley Bike Lane project, work's progressing on that. They're doing some striping, some pavement markings with that project. Our base repair contract, completed that yesterday. We had a few issues with our contractor this year. Just in following the specifications and getting exactly what we're paying for, so we ran into a couple of issues. One was on Camp Wawa Road where we really, after they milled an additional or widened the road an additional foot on either side just to make it to go from an 18-foot road to a 20-foot road. So 2 10-foot lanes. So there was a little bit of a drop off there. Wasn't happy with that, so they came back in and then milled where the notch where they originally milled, and then paved it back in with some wearing course material just to make sure that we had a consistent profile across the entire road. So ran into a little bit of an issue there, and then another kind of an issue on Morris Road where they weren't getting the full depth that our contract requires. So it's a little bit more babysitting this year than we had in years past, and but the other thing is that we spend a lot of time and effort making sure that everyone is aware of what's going on and everyone's protected and everyone's, that we know what's going on. We don't just turn it over to the contractor. So we have a lot of people that are involved with traffic control, making sure that our residents the motorists that come through the township are aware, and we can guide them. And we have someone from the townships that's the face of the project rather than just a contractor. And it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, but in my mind, there's a lot of value in us doing that. So I think it just helps eliminate phone calls and eliminate the frustration that motorists might feel when they come across the detour. So I think, in my mind, that portion of the work is
appreciated by the residents.
Thank you, because it's, like I said, it involves a lot of effort and a lot of time, and then trying to stay with the contractor's schedule. It's a little difficult at times, so there's a lot of moving parts. So, but just wanted everyone to be aware of that.
appreciate you on top of it other times too. We hear about it now, but on the successful projects, I imagine you still go in, put the time you have to check them, make sure everything's on the up and up, and we appreciate that. greatly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of my philosophy is this, I'd rather not, I don't want to have to turn it over. Entire project, leave it up to the contractor, and then I find out through a phone call that something went sideways. So, if we have people out there that are representing the township and are in control of what's happening, or at least aware of what's happening, then I think everybody can sleep better at night.
Okay, thank you for staying on top of that, because I know there are contractors, not that he was maybe trying to do something like that, but they become a little lax. And it's
Yes.
nice to have somebody making sure the township's getting more paid. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Associated paving contractors, we've used them in the past and haven't had any issues, and I'm not sure exactly what this year everything seems a little disjointed and kind of a little out of sync, so I'm not sure exactly why, but staying on top of it, and we're gonna evaluate the process as we move forward, and maybe there's a better way to do this, even if it's through, I know years past, we used to do everything through an equipment rental contract. We might end up going that way, but the danger or the concern is, who gets that contract. So if you've got a good contractor, then there's less concern, but it's always, the low bid process is always the uncertainty.
One bad foreman having a couple bad days.
It could be, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, just some department activities, continue working on Rolfe Park. We're doing base repairs on the parking lot today. We're spending a little bit extra time on that because with the potential for the public works project and the implications to Alumni Avenue, I foresee that park and that access getting a lot more traffic as we move forward. So we're gonna make sure that, before we pave it, that we've got all of our issues taken care of and nothing comes back to haunt us.
If you haven't seen, the shades are installed.
Looks great.
They look great.
I was gonna say, the firework night, we were down there and actually ate dinner, got to look at it. It's a great job.
Thank you. Yeah, they were a great addition to the park. And the last thing I have is the road program for this year. As I said, the base repairs is completed. Our Cape Seal program, we're focusing on the Ellen Way development. Harvest Glen Drive, Hammersmith Court, Bennington Court, Branch Road, White Pine Way, and a significant portion of the Mainland Ridge development. That's for Cape Seal, and then for the Nova Chip, it's gonna be Morris Road, all the way from Harleysville Pike to Quarry Road. And then we're through our equipment rental contract, we're going to be resurfacing the portion of Ralph's Mill Road, which between Harleysville Pike and Indian Creek, that once it turns on, that makes the left on Ralph's Mill, it then becomes Indian Creek. So that portion basically from Harleysville Pike down to Freeman School Road, in front of the car. So that is all going to get some repairs done and resurfacing and try to do some adjustments on the inlets and some at the intersection to account for some stormwater issues.
How's that road been indication? I know we've had issues in the past. I mean, this weather hasn't been the same, but how's, I drive, I live near there, I drive by it.
Yeah,
Sometimes I see some of the pressure things just kind of pushing a little too hard and not really doing too much.
it's not horrible, but it's not fantastic either. But I don't know that they're doing a lot of sweeping. But like I said, we haven't had, even when we've had all the rain, I haven't noticed it being terrible from through there, so.
And the new drainage you did along there, work to flood the quarry out or anything?
Not at all.
Hopefully we don't do the improvements just to have it, right, so.
Well, like I said, we're mindful of the entrance to the quarry. And, we've taken some elevations to make sure that we're, at the very least, we're not gonna make things any worse than what they currently are.
And obviously we'll coordinate with them schedule wise for,
Absolutely.
yeah. Thank you.
Any
That is-
questions on the,
No problem. That is all that I have. Be happy to answer any questions.
Just a quick comment about the bike lane project. I got some positive feedback from residents yesterday that feel much safer when they're on the road already with the white stripe roof's been done. So great job to all involved in that.
Great. Good to hear.
anything else for Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Chief David.
Yes, sir. Brief update on Country Fair. As far as the deployment of officers, the number of hours were very similar to last year. We ended up paying about 16,000 in overtime and another 6,000 comp time value for a total of 22, which is just slightly higher than last year. Incidents were minor. A couple juveniles fighting on Friday night. I think an intoxicated parent Saturday showed up, but and considering what it could be.
And the number of attendees.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And the number of attendees.
Well, Kent would know better. Wednesday and Thursday certainly took a hit. And I don't know how that works out with wristbands. I doubt that they're transferable to other nights. So I think people came out with their rain gear. Just there's no inappropriate weather, right? Just inappropriate clothing. So listen. So I mean, they tried to make up for it Friday, but threatened a few times. But I think that was pretty well attended.
Yes, Friday and Saturday were both very well attended.
Anything else? That's it. He wrote the report. I just read it. I mean, he's always done most of the work, but now he's finally got it.
Right.
I just want to make a quick comment about the Harleysville market, whether it's been intentional or unintentional, the presence of the officers at the market and their being out in the community has been well received. I think a couple of vendors mentioned to me, it was nice to have them walking through the market. So thank you for, whether it was intentional or not, having the officers out there.
I'd say generally it is intentional. I mean, when staffing allows, they always pop in. You know, the ice cream frog or, you know, whatever. So they do make a concerted effort to be present. And they know that that's a regular event and very well attended. So you'll continue to see them out there.
Awesome, thank you.
You got it.
Great job. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks. At least make it 2 years. Never let it be said.
At least. Moving right along, building and zoning director, Mr. B.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last month, we had 71 permits that were issued in the department, and last year as a comparison, we had 114. So I don't know what changed from last year to this year, but apparently our residents have calmed down a little bit to go back down to normal. 114 last year was our by far increase. I guess so. So at the planning commission meeting that we had a couple weeks ago, I think at this point, 130 Christopher Lane, they recommended approval for that amended final lane development. We also heard the latest presentation from 188 for the pipe. Quite a few residents came out for that. I would imagine, I think it was around 50% full here in the meeting room. And no action was taken, just discussion about some of the issues pertaining to the typical things, but traffic along Harleysville Pike and buffering around the site. And then the pathway going through the site as well. So they went back to revise the plan to resubmit for next time. We also heard the latest presentation for what's called Clemens Mill, which is 531 Main Street. That's a project that's been on the at the township for quite some time now. And so they revised the plans and had another presentation. No action was taken on that too. That's the one where there's several existing homes along the frontage of Main Street, up close to Main Street, that are being preserved to remain. and then new twins to be constructed behind them. And actually, I think along, fill in some gaps, and then there's that new street that's supposed to go down behind those homes for access. Okay. We also discussed the waiver of land development or small project threshold with the planning commission. It's actually the first time we actually officially did that. I know we've been talking about it here and there, to try to come up with an actual measurable threshold of what will constitute maybe a minor land development, what we currently call a waiver of land development. And then what would be the threshold for an administrative approval that would only be handled in the village. So that was the first discussion with the planning commission that we had on that.
Your goal then is to solicit feedback from the planning commission of the criteria, whatever those points would be for recommendation to us for consideration.
Yes.
Very good.
So at your regular meeting tomorrow, you'll have the conditional use hearing for Southford Mennonite Pavilion. The waiver of land development has been pushed off because they were going to revise the plans to meet the review letter comments. So you have a more succinct review letter and not so wordy. So that won't hold them up. Because they'll still need to do that anyway to revise the plans for the engineer. But tomorrow will be the hearing of conditional use. Also 2 hearings, one for the village commercial zoning district text amendments and the right-of-way map amendment hearing tomorrow as well. And 130 Christopher Lane will be on for amended final approval. 841 Main Street also on for amended final approval. And 645 Store Road residential subdivision on for plan approval as well. So next on the agenda, Jessica Mickelson is here. She's here to talk. She's the senior right-of-way agent representing PPL, and she's here to talk about and give a presentation regarding the placement of the high tension power line.
You want me to come over there, or I'm gonna show something on the screen, so I don't know.
Come join us up.
I know you don't like. Yeah. So I'm Jessica Mickelson. I am the right-of-way agent that's assigned to, well, there's actually 2 of us to this area. There's a PICO and a PPL line. And so I'm PPL. We are going to be replacing the high tension lines. There's about 7.7 miles here that we are going to be replacing, but there are 4 different parcels that we call them land swap agreements. They're amendments to the easements that we're hoping to do with the township specifically. So as you can see on this picture, what you're seeing, the purple is what we have designated as the right of way right now in the original easement. And then we have what is called 50-foot setbacks on either side, which is the green area. So there's about 200 feet of non-buildable area per the easements that we have already. These easements were signed in like 1927 to 1929. Yeah, just a few years ago. Which by industry standard now, for a 230 kV line, we do 150-foot easement. So whenever we do a rebuild, we try to optimize the line anywhere we can, because based on rights we have right now, we're in the early stages. So let me backtrack. We have a 10% design right now, and we're about to do an edit to the 10% design here at the end of June. We are thinking construction is going to start January with the hope of environmental and safety measures starting at the end of 2026. So I always tell people, like, when you see me at this point, you're going to have me for 2 to 3 years at this point. So we will be best friends. So what we try to do is we go through and try to identify parcels where we could potentially do these land swap agreements, because we can't do them everywhere. There's some parcels that you'll have that back against like neighborhoods, and we would have to get every single person guaranteed to sign. So sometimes in those cases, we just add the additional pole. So that's what we're trying to reduce, is the number of additional structures that we're going to have to add. Mainly because I live in Macungie and I remember 9 years ago, they started one of these projects and they didn't do that. And we like have a pole like every 50 feet, which did not make people very happy, if you can imagine. So that's why now we do these land, we didn't in the beginning when we started, but now we do this to give people the opportunity. And you can see like you have long spans, so like you would have to have another pole if we didn't amend these. So with the amendment, what we do is the setback areas go back to the landowner, which would be you all, which is the green. And then the amended easement would then say 150 foot, which is to the yellow.
In the yellow, full disclosure.
Yeah.
This fine young lady and I have had multiple discussions.
Yes.
Might feel
We are
better
still waiting on our survey.
The outcrop of that colored thing is property that my wife and I have.
Yes.
So we're negotiating. But, what are the restrictions, like, is it's a no build line? but
Yeah.
We still own it in the area from the purple to the edge of the green.
Yeah.
Once that becomes yellow.
Yes.
What additional restrictions?
So
do you have
it's
in that area?
basically the same no zone,
Okay.
but you can, I did have a talk with Andy. He was worried about encroachment. So I actually am trying.
Trail, like new trails.
Yes.
Ball fields and other
And
things.
we have an encroachment process that's really simple. So there's one specific woman, Janet, who does the encroachments. I always tell people, if you hear from someone random at PPL that isn't me or Janet, you need to call me first. Where you can apply for an encroachment, trails, fences, anything like that is never an issue. But we do have some language that I think can get approved to be put in it. So that's why I don't have the easement today, because PPL Legal is working on it, but I think they should be done today. So I'll bring like all the copies for your meeting tomorrow. And all it basically says is, if you need an encroachment, contact PPL, basically, which is that.
I guess the only thing I would have is, if
Yeah.
there was any encroachment that would not be allowed by modifying the agreement.
Yeah.
That's already existed.
Yeah.
Can we
Oh,
get that grandfather?
That would be grandfathered, yeah.
Oh.
Because like in, not, to use you as an example, there will be a corner of a building that would be grandfathered in. So we're hoping to get actual surveys in the next week or two. So they're making me wait for a survey with them, because what they will do is they will already draw it in to the survey. So this is like this is what the engineers did from an aerial perspective, but this is not the official survey that would get recorded. So what they typically do is they get the easement signed, get the survey, they come back out, have you initial the survey, we make sure everything is good, then it gets recorded. So it's like a lengthy process. Then what happens after, because the reason why we need easement signed first is so we can get that 10% edit. Because at that 10% edit, for any landowners who were questioning should they sign or not, if engineering can get rid of an additional pole by them signing, it gives me a chance to go back out and be like, okay, for sure, if you sign, I can get rid of this pole. Because for some landowners, there's a loss of trees. So that's the other thing that changes. You all don't have that impact really, but I have one landowner who they really care about the trees on their property, and they should. It's like a beautiful forested property. They would rather get an additional pole than lose the trees, because they do have to clear anything that's designated the right of way. So, and the reason why too, like we put the poles in there, we have to keep our blowout, which is what they call like the line sway, within what is designated as the actual right of way. So it's great that you can't build within, 200 feet, but that doesn't help for actual engineering. So, and yeah. It's actually, so the non-buildable area is narrow, but the actual designated right of way is not.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's the change. Yeah, it's the change in the actual language. So it's like we have all this land that we don't need that people can't build in. And one landowner who signed, he was like, "You're 6 months too late." And I was like, "Why?" He just built a garage and they had to change the design to stay out of that non-buildable area, where if we would have signed 6 months ago, he could have kept it the way that he wanted. So I was, if I would have known. So, and again, it's only a 7.7 mile stretch. We know Pico in the future is going to want to rebuild theirs. And so we're trying to fix some of the crossings right now before they do their line. which is why we're doing like this little section. Usually I do like 13 to 18 mile stretches from substations to substations, but this area is like critical, so that's why we're doing this now, yeah. So,
I think probably the owners are there.
oh, well, there's probably like 300, but in terms, oh, I think it was like 168 that would be affected by easements. But that's because of some of the neighborhoods. So, but we are talking to 60 landowners, because that's more realistic. Because with the neighborhoods, if one person doesn't sign, we might have to put a pole there anyway, because we can't optimize. So we always look at the parcels where we're like, okay, this is a long enough span that they probably will have to get something, but they own the whole span. So like we can optimize there. So
So just to make sure I'm clear, you're
Yeah.
taking like the larger structures and going in.
yeah, so we're going down to a monopole. So right now we have the big lattice towers, and ours are a little bit wider than Pico's. They are all foundation poles. It's a single circuit. So we'll have an 8-foot base of concrete, and then the pole sits on top with like these giant bolts. Apparently they're meteor proof. I don't know who tested that to tell us that. So we'll all be dead, but there will be electricity for whoever is still here. I was like, who tested that? I was like, what do you mean they're meteor proof? Yeah, I was like, who told you? It's kind of, yeah, it's kind of like that lie where you're like, oh yeah, and you're like, how did you test this? Yes, the bolts will be there. And so, and they're pretty sturdy.
Around the base.
No, so the base is raised. So, yeah, you'll see it about 12 inches, and then the pole goes on top. We have a lot of them in the country. So, and, I haven't, I have 4 kids, so I'm always like, are they gonna play on that? So, that's only, so it's not high enough to like truly be like a danger, but I don't want my kids playing on a trampoline. Right now, yeah. Right now they can climb them. So it's a little bit harder to climb. So, and they are that pre-rusted color, so you don't have to worry about the steel changing color. I guess it's more aesthetically pleasing. I'm like, it's a tower. It is taller. It's 120 feet. So there will be, depending on topography, there will be some that can reach up to 150 feet to keep it level, but the standard at 230 is 120 feet. So yeah, it's a tall pole, but it's thinner, the footprint is smaller, so some people are happy about that because it's in their yard. But I'll be tall. And then as construction gets closer and steps get closer, you'll like you won't be able to get rid of me. Like I'll keep coming out. It'll be like everyone runs, for something else for me to tell you, and they'll do soil samplings, which is called a core bore, where they take that like 3-inch tube and put it in the ground to see what they're up against. And we'll
For access poles, or they be able to just come from up. Is that like, are they come off the park to get their pole, or do they come off the like Creekside Drive?
So I will honestly, once we get to 30%, we'll start looking at accesses, and I more than likely will go over those with you first, just to see if there's a better access. Sometimes they do have to get HOP permits depending on where they're accessing, but they also want to be, like, there's baseball diamonds out there. And so they want to try to be least impactful. So that's why, like, they always have a field agent, because we'll have to talk to you and like go over what's going to be the best way, especially. So if they really do start in January, sometimes they start earlier. So that's the thing. It's like, we have projects that get delayed, but then you have projects that they're like, okay, we're ready. We can start earlier. And, with softball and baseball season, we'll try to see what we can do. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What needs to be, exactly. So it'll be, we'll have a lot of communication. We'll make sure.
The lattice structures are coming down.
Yes.
They would-
No, they're
Some of
not.
them have- So they have cell phone on them.
If they do, I don't know, does ours, I know. Our,
Two that cell tower going on.
for PPL. And
So
if
it's
it is,
yeah.
it would have to go on the new pole, but I don't know. I know sometimes we have fiber for our communication, because the poles will tell us, these poles that we're putting up will tell us which one is down. So that's really nice, so that they don't have to go like find,
Hunting.
yes. Storm duty is not a fun job. So, these are different, but usually it might be Pico who rents it out, because we usually don't rent to, carriers. They don't want to do that. But sometimes on the telephone poles, that the distribution, so transmission and distribution were separate. Sometimes on distribution that happens, but usually transmission, we try to keep it to ourselves.
At Walmart, there's a cell tower.
Right by
in the
it.
Middle of the lattice.
The ladders, okay, so that might
And
be
up at
something.
the top of the hill, behind Old Southern Town.
Yeah. So it'd have to come down and go on the, I wonder what they'll do during construction, because they take the towers down first. Yeah.
What's the process?
So process, so this is how it usually looks. So depending on how long, ENS starts usually about 3 months ahead of time. So the most annoying part for landowners is the beginning and the end, because we'll start ENS plans. We won't even have a crew that starts working on towers for at least 6 weeks, because ENS needs to be ahead enough for us so that they don't get caught up. So they'll start laying down, and that will be anything from those wooden mats that look like a boardwalk to building stone roads, just depending on the locations. Then the first crew comes in and starts breaking down all the, taking off all the line. Then we take down the towers, then we start digging. So it's just like this constant round robin.
Exact same spot. though.
Yes,
Except
oh,
up
yeah,
here,
they don't move. Only, yeah, only where, it's only the additional poles. And then there's a few landowners out by, like Landis Sunflower. There's like a sunflower farm out here. And it's like a patch of like signed, not signed, signed, not signed. So for that area, because we'll have to figure out like where, so they may shift a little bit based on who's signing. But we'll have like that full design too before we start anything. Usually by the 60% drawings, that's like pretty much our firm plan, and we do a walk down. So that would be the day we'd actually like come down, and I'd walk with all the engineering guys, whoever our contractors are for electrical and all that stuff, and kind of make that final preparation. So.
Excuse my ignorance on this, but maybe down the lines too.
So it depends. Sometimes they either do bucket truck or helicopter. So it just depends on how to get them. Oh, no, disruption? No. Yeah. Yeah, no, there'll be no service disruption. No one will notice. I know. I was like, everyone here has Pico. Yeah, exactly. No, you won't feel a disruption. They'll whatever sub they'll switch to. I mean, it's kind of amazing, but how they just like switch, and they have a schedule with the state. So everything's under a time crunch once we start construction, because we only have a certain outage window that we can get it done. So they so far I haven't missed it yet in the 9 years I've been doing this. We've come close. So yeah. Yeah.
Weather, time constraint.
Yeah.
To make sure that we're not getting stuck in field or something.
Yes, for sure. And hopefully with all like the ENS plans that will, like environmental safety measures, that will prevent any of that from happening. The crews are pretty good that we hire. I mean, like I said, I haven't had very many like crazy incidents that happen. A few trucks getting stuck, one crane broken, and that's it in 9 years. So that's not too bad. Not too bad, I'd say. So, and then we do cleanup, and cleanup is the slowest part because we have to show like 70% growth of grass and all of this, all these different things. People are over construction at that point, so you'll start getting complaints here of when is PPL going to come get the stuff out. But they take the most care and cleanup because they want to be able to close the permit. So it takes the longest, but people are done with us by that time. So just FYI. And that's when the complaints start. So. Oh, thank you. Yes, it's like the two windows. Yeah. And they're like, what are you doing? Yeah. So one of my favorite landowners called the cops on the survey guys the other day. I was like, I just saw you a week ago. She was like, I didn't know who they were and I got nervous. And I was like, that's fine. I mean, I get it. I get it. So okay, it's okay. They all have my phone number at this point. So yeah, exactly. So, but we're hoping to have like official surveys in the next week or two. So, which will then help me with you too, because I was like, apparently we're just waiting till we get the real thing. So you'll get all your whole packet at one time. So, but if you have any questions,
Omar,
yeah.
I mean, you mentioned Kunji, are there any
Yeah.
other similar townships or boroughs that have these implemented that we could possibly see?
Oh, I mean, yeah, so, oh, I should have brought a picture. I have like a pamphlet for you. Macungie has them, Lancaster. I was in Lancaster for 5 years before I moved over to, which was nice because I live in Macungie, so now I'm more here. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yeah. Yeah.
That whole line, like,
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, they're big, yeah. So, see, you didn't know them because they're from. Yeah, yeah, and they have a folder of like all the information in there, so, yeah. Oh, okay.
Running down the road by Union Valley Country Club, the other great place.
Oh, yeah, that would be,
What's it, Bergie Road?
yeah, Bergie Road, yeah. So you'll see them there. See, you don't notice them because they're aesthetically pleasing now because they're pretty rusted. Yes, exactly. So they look like giant trees.
Let me show you something.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but yeah, but
Something we all need and rely on every day.
every day, and it stays the same, like it's still 230 kV, it's still single circuit, it's just, and then when Pico comes in, I think they are doing similar replacement, but we don't know, but they spearheaded us getting this part done, because there is a cross we need to fix that is here, and so I'm working with Interstate right now to fix that cross. So, but yeah, so yeah. But if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. And he has my number directly, so. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I'll bring all of those papers to Mike, so he'll have full packets for everything. So, all right, thank you.
All right, anything else for Mr. Buki this morning? All right, move right along. Mr. Buki.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item on the manager's report is the review of the agenda or the minutes for May 7th, 2025. If anybody has any comments, corrections?
Just one addition, something that earlier, in regards to the traffic lights, the turnaround and all, I just wanted to add that, I did say for the record, I just wanted to say, while I'm thrilled with this one, I said we could look into other areas possibly, but because it merits it, I understand. I just wanted to explain that, yes, that a lot of concerns people with that traffic light. Just adding that while I feel,
Under new business,
any business, sorry, thank you.
A.
Just I understood that it was merited. Warranted.
Okay, the next item is review of the agenda for tomorrow night's meeting. First item of this under unfinished business ordinance 2025-01, proposed VC zoning district amendments, consideration to adopt. Ordinance 2025-02, proposed road classification and ultimate right-of-way amendments, consideration to adopt. 40 Gross Mill Road, Southwood Mennonite Church, conditional use hearing. Resolution 2025-13, 130 Christopher Lane, amended final land development plan approval. Resolution 2025-14, 841 Main Street, amended final land development approval. Resolution 2025-15, 645 Store Road, preliminary final residential subdivision plan approval. And resolution 2025-16, declaration of condemnation for Brooklyn property 222 Maple Avenue. On the new business, motion to approve amended PPL easements. That's item A. Item B, motion to approve fire police assistance to the Highwaysville Bank for their Customer Appreciation Day on June 14th, 2025. And finally, item C, motion to approve the fire police assistance to Upper Salford Township for 3 events, Philadelphia Folk Festival, August 14th, Old Goshen Hop and Oyster Picnic, September 6th, and the Big Bad Bonfire on October 11th.
The fire police for the chicken barbecue.
They are related to it.
Yes. Very good.
I did also want to bring up on the agenda, but you'll be seeing checks written for tomorrow for the volunteer fire tax rebate program. So this is for 2024. We had 29 of the members participate, varying degrees of eligibility from 25%, some at 25%, 50, 75, 100. The payments range from $6 to $16.65. And the average payment was $588, and the total rebate to the fire company members was $17,057.
Fantastic, great. Appreciate it.
Did I get some? You want to take that breakfast 75? It wasn't the 6 time, right?
He was.
Yeah.
And then real briefly, financials to date, revenues are at 53.3%, or $5,278,197, and expenditures are at 40%, $4,826,207.
Okay, very good.
So they do have a need for a brief executive session.
The matter of the following,
Real estate.
no intention to.
Correct.
All right, with that, there's nothing else, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, just as we move it along, is the expectation that we would have something on the junior supervisor program for the July agenda for action?
Yeah, are we off July or?
Regular meeting.
Regular meeting.
Yes.
And one work session and then a regular meeting and then.
And if I get a day off from this one.
That'll be July 2nd.
Yeah.
Is everybody okay with these guidelines for the most part? Okay,
I have to say, keep it to 1 or 2, like have the.
Yeah, it's gonna be a demand on staff at some point, so.
We okay with two?
Say after 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the word of discretion.
Right. And they need to be qualified candidates and.
And so I like their process for that.
Okay.
I'm very good.
All right, with that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. See everyone soon.